Hi, it's Dwyer. It's Saturday, May 7th, 2022. GamblersAdvisory.com, a free site. BettingAngle.us, a free site. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, today is the day of the Canelo-Dimitri Bivol fight. Understand, life can change in an instant. The narrative on Canelo, which right now is that he's unbeatable, he's fearless, he wants to take on Alexander Usyk, he is simply going through weight classes and beating champions, making what we thought was impossible look doable. Right? Understand, the way he unified the title at 168 pounds is that he had 4 fights against 4 champions, and while he was doing so, he jumped up a weight class and beat the light heavyweight champion. But understand, because right now we're dealing with an optical illusion, the idea that nothing can stop him. We're all mortal, right? The idea that weight classes aren't real obstacles. Canelo, a great fighter, right? That's where you get your bargains, folks. A great fighter who's a certain first ballot Hall of Famer, right now is getting odds he should not get against, in my opinion, the best light heavyweight on the planet. So today, the day of the fight, I'm on a site right now, Cloudbet, that has Dimitri Bivol today as a greater than 4-1 underdog. That's preposterous, the way I see the world. When you see a champion who has been a champion at 175, fighting a visitor to his division, and when you see that Bivol has a real resume that includes wins over Jean Pascal and Joe Smith, this bet makes itself. Maybe Canelo is unbeatable, but the odds of that are slim. I think the public narrative changes today, whether you believe in Bivol or not. At these odds, you're compensated for the risks. For the record, I think Bivol wins the fight. I would not be surprised if he wins it with a margin, right? 8-4. If the fight goes the distance. Understand, something like the last 7 fights Bivol has had has gone the distance. Canelo's style is tailor-made for Bivol, right? Canelo moves slowly. He's an incremental type, right? The pressure creates diamonds. It breaks pipes. He's the guy who's trying to slowly pressure you. That doesn't work against a skilled mover with superior stamina. Now, there's a lot going on today. Let's talk about what I'm looking at. Let's talk about what I'm doing. Right, first, a fight I'm looking at. I'm not betting at it. I'm not betting on it because the fight is way out of line price-wise. But I'm doing research on it because if the stars align, one of the guys in the fight is going to be a major player in the heavyweight division. And that fighter is the silver medalist from the Beijing Olympics. He's 39-year-old Zhili Zhang, right? Understand, he's a southpaw. Power punching southpaw. That's rare at heavyweight. He has one of the biggest punches in the heavyweight division. One-shot knockout power. He's also Chinese. And we're in an era of increased nationalism, trade restrictions, where China has the world's largest army. It has a president for life, right, Xi, and he wants the country to have a higher profile. Folks, I'm just telling you that with the fastest man in the world, boxing's heavyweight champion, in my opinion, is the biggest position in sports. You simply don't have a higher profile spot in the sports world, in my opinion, than that. Let me also point out, too, how Zhang is positioned. He was to fight Filip Hrgovic in an elimination bout to become the mandatory for one of these heavyweight sanctioning bodies, right? Hrgovic had to withdraw from the fight for personal reasons. But understand, Zhang is in the mix to the point where he's on the verge of fighting for a mandatory contender status. So he's fighting a guy named Scott Alexander, 16 wins, 4 losses, 2 ties, right? Zhang, of course, unbeaten. I'm expecting a stoppage here. Let's see how he looks. Understand, Zhang at 39 isn't a blessed athlete. He does not have great stamina. The challenge for an opponent is to get by the first 6 rounds, dodge the power shots, figure out the awkward stance, the suddenness of his punches. Zhang looks like he doesn't have a lot of hand speed. Understand, the way he throws his punches, the timing still catches his opponents off guard. This is a must-watch fight, right? When you're dealing with a guy with this level of punch, there isn't that big of a margin of error. And we're in a time of transition in the heavyweight division. Tyson Fury has told you that he is retired, right? Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua, who are fighting for titles, are both in their 30s, right? Understand, folks, the door is open for someone to come in and to start beating the guys who are left in the heavyweight division. Finally, let's get controversial here. This is high risk. This is not for rookies, right? Understand, it's gambling, right? There are a series of fights out there that are mispriced right now, right? Understand, the odds matter. One of the big strategies you want to use, I use, in gambling, in my opinion, right, for third parties, is to lock in odds, right? Don't fall in love with fighters, even when you think they're great. What you want to do is look at the odds. You want to lock in odds so you can then hedge the play. So let's name some fights right now that, in my opinion, are a bit mispriced. The Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua fight. Understand, I feel that Usyk beats him. I felt that way before the first fight, as subscribers here know, and Usyk delivered. Right? Usyk's beaten him already. But Usyk is coming off of a Russian invasion of his country, where he was actually a member of the Ukrainian army. He actually volunteered to fight for his country. Now understand how stressful the situation is in the world right now. It's impacting a lot. You have a former heavyweight champion, Vladimir Klitschko, who still is a big name in boxing, right? You think about Joshua's biggest fight to date, an argument can be made, it's that Klitschko fight. You think about heavyweights who ruled the division for years, well, Vladimir Klitschko's on the short list. Vladimir Klitschko is upset that Russian Dmitry Bivol, who, by the way, is the champion. In other words, he's the one defending his belt against Canelo. He's the incumbent. Klitschko's upset that he's being allowed to fight. Right? Let's not kid ourselves. Outside stress and politics impacts all of us. Usyk is coming from an invasion as a member of the military, and he's now segueing to fight Anthony Joshua. Now, while I think Usyk wins that fight, let's understand odds. Anything above a plus 150, if you're taking an underdog, gives that underdog a 40% chance of winning the fight. In other words, the other guy wins 1.5 times to every time the underdog with the plus 150 wins the fight. Today, in some places, you're getting a plus 200 on Anthony Joshua, one of boxing's most blessed punchers, a guy who hits hard with both hands. Now, I don't have to believe in Anthony Joshua to grab this bet, right? Understand, too, some details on the fight are still being worked out. Recognize, too, for whatever reason, right or wrong, Anthony Joshua is one of the most loved fighters in the sport. He's box office gold. I mentioned Canelo earlier. Canelo has few peers at the box office. One of them is Anthony Joshua. You're giving me a guy who's popular like Ray Leonard was popular, right? Who, in my opinion, is more popular than Floyd Mayweather has ever been. And you're giving me him as at a plus 200. By the way, on CloudBet right now, he's a plus 185. Folks, I have to take that bet, right? It's not because I think he's going to win the fight. It's just that it's insurance. I have locked in at huge odds the remote possibility that Joshua lands a big shot on an opponent who, let's face it, isn't as big as Joshua, doesn't have Joshua's punch. Right? It's an odds play. I'm grabbing the Anthony Joshua at plus 185. On oddschecker.com right now, they'll tell you where you can bet on Anthony Joshua at a plus 200. But you need to check the legality of betting in your jurisdiction, right? Let's be adult about it. Let's talk about other fights that are mispriced right now. You know, one of my favorite boxers, I would take him against Canelo. And that doesn't mean I'd take many people against Canelo, right? There are just certain people out there where you say, whoa, this guy, style-wise, would be too much. Is David Benavidez, right? I think Benavidez, who's unbeaten, who has been the champion at 168 pounds in the past, right? I think David Benavidez is a big-time fighter. Understand, too, Benavidez has sparred with people like Bivol, who, again, I consider to be a big-time fighter, right? So Benavidez is a guy who, behind the scenes, is sparring with world-class big-time fighters. And he himself is a world-class big-time fighter with a huge punch, right? He's fought people like Anthony Durrell, another guy who's underrated with the public. Well, understand, as much as I believe Benavidez beats David Lemieux, you've got to be kidding me with this line. Lemieux is going off, believe it or not. as a greater than 11-1 underdog. Bet $1 to win $11.25 plus the return of your dollar. Now, I don't know what people think is going on, but I know I myself have off days. Right? I know Lemieux has a big punch. Understand, a knockout puncher only has to be right once. Lemieux has a big punch. Lemieux is a vet. He's fought people like Billy Joe Saunders. Right? He's fought many world-class fighters. So here, understand, getting Lemieux at greater than 11-1 odds allows you to then bet more on David Benavidez. All you want to do is set up the play, especially a fight like this between two KO artists. All you want to do is set up the play where you're getting better than even money on both sides of the play. Or, let me put this differently. Let's say you believe, as I do, that this fight ends by stoppage. Right? You don't even have to know who wins the fight. If you believe it ends by stoppage. Understand, if you're getting better than 11-1 odds on David Lemieux, then you could take David Benavidez by stoppage. The casino could even rip you off. The casino could charge you a -300. But understand, a -300 is less than the 11-1 on the other side. So now it's doable. Because thanks to the 11-1, you're neutralizing the -300. Right? And so this way you win if either fighter wins. As long as on the Benavidez side, it's by stoppage. Right? So no one's looking at this fight. I'm just telling you, that's when you walk in the front door of the casino and you rip off the casino. Right? No one's looking. It's illegal robbery in broad daylight. I'm grabbing the David Lemieux at plus 1,125. Right? It's a plus 1125. Right? 11.25-1. I'm locking in those odds. I'm grabbing those odds today so that when more odds come out for this fight that's taking place May 21st, I can then grab those. In particular, I'm looking for David Benavidez at -300, right, or less, to win the fight by stoppage. Right? These guys are going to be having at it. I want to be able to watch this fight knowing that if someone gets caught, whoever it is, and gets stopped, I win the bet. Let's talk about another fight. You got to be kidding me. Look, I know Gervonta Davis is one of the biggest names in boxing. I'll concede it. I know Gervonta Davis has a punch. I saw the Leo Santa Cruz fight. I know what Davis can do with one punch. But you've got to be kidding me. You know, Rolando Romero himself is a knockout puncher. Davis is just one of two knockout punchers in this fight. If you feel that these guys are going to go at it and someone is going to get knocked out, in my opinion, you want action on both sides of the play. Rolando Romero right now is going off at 7-1 as an underdog. You got to be kidding. I get Romero at 7-1? This is ridiculous. Right? Understand, here again, he only has to be right once. So I'm grabbing Romero at 7-1. The odds are mispriced here. for this May 28th fight. And then I'm going to look for odds on the other side of the play that fit in with the huge endowment I'm getting by locking in the 7-1 odds on Ramiro. In other words, here again, they could tell you, hey, Gervonta Davis, by stoppage, minus 200. And you'll take it because you know you're getting a plus 700 on the other side of the play, so you're insured. Understand, too, you don't have to bet the same amount of money on both sides of the play. What you're doing is taking advantage of a casino odds mispricing. So if I bet $10 on Ramiro, if he wins, okay, I win $70 back. Let's say I throw 30 on Gervonta Davis to win by stoppage at a minus 200, and I'm making up the minus 200. I haven't seen that bet offered yet. I'm waiting for the Gervonta Davis by KO odds to be released. Right? But just understand, if I throw $30 on Gervonta Davis at a minus 200, then I profit if either happens. If the upset happens, I get 70 minus 30. I win $40. If Gervonta Davis gets the stoppage, then I get half of what I put in. I get $15 back. Right? Minus the 10 on the Ramiro side. I profit with $5. Right? You want to think things through, set it up so that you get paid regardless of what happens. Let's talk about another fight. Right, folks? This fight's taking place in Australia. That's George Kambosos' country. George Kambosos is the champ. It matters. In a photo finish, there are going to be some old-time judges who think to themselves, hey, the opponent did not do enough to take the champion's title. Right? Having the belt is really a multiple endowment. If the fight's declared a draw, the champ keeps his title. If the fight's close, a lot of people are going to say, hey, if it's a close round, tie goes to the champ. So George Kambosos has all kinds of advantages in this fight. Right? If he throws on Devin Haney and he comes within this close, the crowd's going to go crazy. Let's face it, too. Kambosos is fearless, isn't he? Right? You saw him face major adversity against Teofimo Lopez. Major adversity. Then you saw him come back and knock down Teofimo. Then, of course, they actually fight. It's not a lucky round, folks. He outboxes Teofimo Lopez. Question. Who has Devin Haney fought who is as good as Teofimo Lopez? Who is in his prime like Teofimo Lopez is? If you're having a problem answering that question, you need to take the hometown Australian fighter who's the champion, right? At a plus 154. Those odds give Kambosos a less than 40% chance of winning the fight in Australia. The last time I checked, Kambosos was unbeaten. Kambosos has beaten people like Lee Selby. What I need for people to understand, too, is when you're from certain parts of the world, right? The Ukraine, for example. Australia is another example. As you know, many people know, you have to travel to where the other guy is often for the fight. So, with some fighters, they develop a certain mental toughness. Alexander Usyk is accustomed to fighting excellent fighters like Tony Bellew in Bellew's country, Anthony Joshua in Joshua's country. That's the same thing with George Kambosos. Now, you mean to tell me here he actually gets to fight at home? Folks, I'm shocked by these odds. I'm not sure if people understand that the fight's not in the United States. Is there really anybody you would take where you would give Kambosos a less than 40% chance of beating the guy? Kambosos fought Teofimo Lopez, by the way, I believe in New York City. George Kambosos' plus 154 needs to be part of your betting portfolio. Right? Understand, even if you believe Devin Haney's going to win the fight, and in your heart you know Haney's not going to win by stoppage. This is that fight where you can lock up the George Kambosos side at a plus 154. Then you can do things like take the over. Right? Understand what that means. If Haney wins by decision, or late in the fight, over the over, okay, fine, you're hedged. But if Kambosos wins, right, put it this way, if Kambosos wins, you benefit on a plus 154. If he does it by decision, then you're winning both halves of the bet. There's no offset. You get the plus 154, plus you get the over hit. Right? So, if the casino's not offering an over-under right now, that's okay. Lock in the plus 154 on George Kambosos. He just has too much going for him in terms of location. If you know he has a better than 40% chance of winning the fight, you understand too, if we're talking about Haney by decision. Oh, as Manny Pacquiao found out when he fought Jeff Horn in Australia, it's perilous expecting a decision in Australia against an Australian fighter in a competitive fight. And you know Kambosos is a guy who always brings it. He's not going to be standing there looking at Devin Haney. If Devin Haney moves away, Kambosos is going to move after him. Kambosos here at plus 154 is a play I like. It's a play I've grabbed. So let me just close by saying this. Many people who gamble think that the goal is to pick the winner. Right? No, folks. The goal is actually to play the odds and to take advantage of prop betting. Right? Understand, not everything's a money line. You've got to look at a fight and you've got to say, okay, well, what's likely to happen in this fight? Right? I see David Lemieux and David Benavidez. My thought process is somebody is getting knocked out. Right? Just that knowledge alone should enable me to make money on the fight. Then, of course, they're going to give me a slugger at greater than 11-1 odds, right? So then I can take that slugger so that if lightning strikes, oh, I'm getting 11-1 odds, right? You don't have to be a scientist here to make a profit on that kind of return. Then, of course, I can set it up where if the favorite wins by stoppage, even if the odds are a bit short, well, since I've gotten better than 11-1 on the other side of the play, I can still make a profit, right? I can bet an amount where I profit if either happens. You can do that for all of these fights. Does anyone here think the Rolando Romero Gervonta Davis fight is going the distance? I don't. Right? I can tell you the Zhang fight I'm not even betting on. Against Scott Alexander, I'll be shocked if that goes the distance because Zhang was preparing for Ergovic. Right? He's been in camp. He's ready. Right? If his team has done the right thing, then they're picking a guy, an opponent who already has 4 losses, who's going to be there to get hit. I can tell you that Zhang probably wins that fight by stoppage. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this video. Thanks for stopping by.